dementia, connecting our lives to help us survive. So we spend our time to the fullest we can.
Hi, welcome to Professional Insights, created by Dementia Action Alliance. I'm proud to be your host, Marie Mohr. During our Professional Insights podcast, we have educational conversations with professionals in the dementia community to provide answers and support to people living with dementia and their care partners. My guest today is Marie Mohr.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for being here. Marie Mohr began Project Present to improve the quality of life for care partners and individuals living with dementia. Project Present provides improv sessions, communication training, and support groups to create connection, reduce stress, and promote joyful collaboration. Marie Mohr teaches embodied communication, acting, and improvisation courses at Washington University. She has her MA in drama and is a certified dementia practitioner. And I'm thrilled to have you here. And I have some questions ready for you already. Question number one, tell us about your work at Project Present.
Sure. Well, thank you first off again for having me. And I'd love to tell you about the organization. It started 5 years ago officially. But prior to that, I was working with an organization in St. Louis called Memory Care Home Solutions. And they had hired me to come in and train their staff, really to focus on communicating and collaborating as a team through the practice of improvisation. And after the session, one of the directors of the program asked, had I ever thought about the work in connection to care partners that are living with someone with dementia? And I hadn't. And I think about how the work and applied improvisation and improv really connects to any human beings that are talking, connecting, communicating. And I became weirdly obsessed. I started researching and seeing what was being done out there. How was improvisation linked to the world of dementia? And I discovered some interesting things. At Northwestern University, they had a program called the Memory Ensemble, and they would bring together a group of individuals living with dementia to do improv sessions. So I reached out to them and started having a conversation with the people that directed that program. I discovered some improvisers. It's a husband and wife, and their 4 parents all were living with dementia. So they had learned through their practice of improv some of the best ways to communicate and navigate communicating with their loved ones. And then from there, it just kind of kept growing. And I got to go to Washington University's Alzheimer's Disease Research Center and be a part of some training, learning about all of the different neurodegenerative diseases that can create dementias in individuals. And then I went back to that original organization and we put together a communication training program. So we got a grant, and were able to have a communication training program. And then I said, well, let's try improv next. And they are a lovely organization and really kept yes-anding me, which is a big improvisation. And we had the improv sessions, and then we added on joint improv sessions for care partners and individuals living with dementia. So it just kept unfolding. Then I ended up starting Project Present, going off and starting the organization, which now provides support groups, communication trainings and presentations, and then improv sessions as well. So that's a little bit of the backstory and what we provide at Project Present.
That's just awesome. And I love your passion. When you're talking about, you just light up. You can tell it's your baby. You're the proud mama. And that's when I talk about DAA, I do the same thing. It's so nice to have a project that is such a huge joy and passion in your life. So, well, okay. So you do a lot with improv. How can improvisation help people living with dementia? What's the benefits of it?
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. I think there's numerous benefits. The some of the leading ones, though, I think individuals, living with dementia, diagnosed with some sort of disease that causes dementia, a lot of times there's isolation that can occur where people tend not to connect as much with others. Perhaps there's feelings of depression, feelings of inadequacy. There's a lot of different emotions and feelings that are occurring. And we like to use improv as a way to combat some of those things. First off, improvisation is a community. You're bringing together a group of people. So we're really trying to combat isolation by bringing people together. And the beautiful thing about improv, there are no mistakes. Everything you say is brilliant, and we yes and everything. That is, the inherent nature of the craft, of the art form, is that it is a space where everything is accepted and we are able to build off of that. So I think that's a wonderful environment to be in, where everything you say is going to be applauded. You're brilliant. There's yes anding. And I think people really have an awesome time and laugh, right? Laughter, I think, is so important. I don't think we realize how beneficial that is for our health. So I think those are some of the takeaways, right? And it's about the present moment. So there's no need for memory. There's no need to be planning ahead. All we have to do is be in the moment that we are with the individuals that we're with, and it'll be just fine. And we tend to see, just a really wonderful improvement of mood. We do something called the Yang smiley face scale. So we have, 5 faces. And when we come into an improv session, we all circle where we're at. So it can be, sad, 5 different faces. And then when we leave, we circle. I mean, I can speak for myself. I can be in a mood and I go to an improv session, and afterwards, it has changed dramatically. And across the board with our participants, we see a real change in mood. In improving of mood, I should say, that people's mood really is uplifted. And I think that's powerful, because this is a non-pharmacological approach. So no drugs need to be involved. And it's just in the moment giving people that opportunity. I know there definitely is a need for medicine and drugs when dealing with depression and other, anxiety issues that people might be facing. But I think this is a wonderful way to have an activity where you are able to combat that isolation, those feelings of sadness or depression that might be with individuals, as well as feeling perhaps inadequate in any way. We really want to, create an environment where people are there to have fun, connect, and laugh together. So those, I think, are some of the benefits that come from an improv session.
That is awesome. And I love the laughter. Laughter is so important. And exercise is important as well. Mm-hmm. And I want to have you give us an example of improv, because I'm not sure I've ever really been involved in improv. So I'm anxious to hear more about that. But before I do, explain the yes and. What is yes and?
Yes, yes, and I will do that. No, so yes, and is really about accepting and building on others' ideas. I think humans, we are already very good at sort of shutting others down, like, no, we probably shouldn't do that, or no, that's not a good idea. Yes, and is really about accepting what someone's giving you and building on it. So I'll do an example in an improv scene, how it could look. So if, you and I were in an improv scene together and you said, oh, there's a tarantula on your shirt. And if I was like, no, there's not, mwah, 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 right? It really, it kills the scene, right? Yeah. We kind of don't feel as connected. It's just kind of awkward. But if you say that to me, there's a tarantula on your shirt, And I'm like, oh, yes, Barnaby. And he's my pet. I bring him with me everywhere, right? I've taken what you've given and I've built upon that. And it really lends itself to connection, creativity, and a real collaborative environment. I think it's also really valuable and a really important tool that I use also in communication training, that we accept the reality of the individual that we are working with. So we accept their offering and we build on that, knowing that we're maintaining integrity of other while we live in the truth of what the individual is living within. So I think yes and is powerful in the improv sort of play, as well as in really communicating successfully with individuals.
Oh, thank you. And tell us another example of an improv session.
Sure, sure. So, we'll walk through one a little bit just to give you an idea. So we would be, and you're going to get to play. So
Right.
you ready, Lori? Yeah. So we start off in a circle and everyone would introduce themselves. And then we do a brief, a warm up together. So we always start with breathing because I'm a big proponent that breathing can really help us find calm, presence, and just a little more connection with ourselves if we're feeling stressed, anxious, whatever it might be. So we start with a nice breathing exercise. And then, like you mentioned before, exercise, we do some stretching and movement work to get our bodies ready. And then lastly, we do some tongue twisters. So that's where you and I can try one together. And we'll do a short one that can really mess us up, but the group will always say together our tongue twisters. So this one, let's say toy boat, for example. So if you and I, on the count of 3, we can say toy boat 3 times together. We'll try that out.
Okay.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3,
Toy boat.
toy boat, toy boat.
Boat.
Beautiful. And so we do a bunch of different like tongue twisters to get ourselves warmed up as well. And then we move into nonverbal work. So for example, here's another exercise. I might right here, do you see I have my focus ball.
Okay.
And and you have your own, I see.
I have my own right here. I've got my own focus ball.
Great. And in the group, I'll look at one of my friends in the group, connect with them, and then I'll simply I'll throw the ball. So right now, Lori, get ready. The ball is coming to you. And
oh, I got it.
Beautiful, right? And so we simply start off playing a game of catch with a focus ball where everyone is creating and showing. The lovely thing is it's nonverbal. So in our groups, we can have people that really don't choose to speak, or perhaps they have lost language. And so language is never lost because we can use our body to communicate, our facial expressions. We can read one another using those tools. So we do a bunch of exercises like that, right? Where we're showing and we're connecting with each other. And then we'll move into other exercises where we'll be talking. But participants are able to do whatever they feel comfortable doing. And when we facilitate, we can also have groups with individuals perhaps that would like to speak, others that don't, but everyone seems to find a way to be involved. It's really very special how everyone is very connected and involved in the exercises. Another possible exercise, I just happen to have a pen right here, is we talk about just how creative we are, because human beings are extremely creative. And I think sometimes we forget that. And creativity is a really helpful way for living our lives. So for example, I might have this pen and I'll look at it and I'm going to turn it into anything maybe but a pen. So for example, I might take it and, turn it into a violin bow. And then I would pass it on, and everyone in the group will use it very differently. And it's pretty amazing just seeing the creative potential and how we can look at something and are able to see and do so much more. And I think that's very valuable as we navigate dementia, as we navigate challenges in our lives, that It's not always going to be A and B. Sometimes we have to move down the road to, well, we might get to Z, right? So I think it just gives
Yeah.
us an opening of mind and just different ways to look at things with a different perspective, and then sharing that with a group of people. So that's an exercise. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that's really, really awesome. And the imagination can be so strong. And often people living with dementia will revert back into a previous world or a whole new world. So using their imagination is important. And I'm aware of our time, but I want to say thank you so much. I'm anxious to spend some more time with you. But Anne-Marie, I want to thank you for joining us today to share with us about how improvisation can help dementia.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks. And I'd also like to thank you, our audience, for joining DAA for this professional podcast. Please visit our website, daanow.org, to view other podcasts, find valuable resources, and find ways to connect with other people living with dementia, such as myself, through our virtual discussion groups and our virtual engagement groups. Dementia Action Alliance is committed to enhancing lives, connecting people, and increasing understanding. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
We can, so we